Hello everyone. I'm recording this video to share a story of how a Verizon representative knocked on my door at the start of the Oscars awards on March 2nd, 2014. I couldn't believe it. When I realized who was outside my door, I live in a co-op, and he must have been walking the building. And I didn't want to be rude to the guy, but he went right into it. So I said, I'll waste this guy's time because he's going to find out how little I pay to watch good quality television and all the movies I have access to and my internet service provider. This guy tried to sell me, and he thought he sold me. First of all, I couldn't believe that I missed the monologue of Ellen DeGeneres hosting the Oscar Awards because of a Verizon representative knocking on my door. And he starts off with, "We know that we made a mistake, that we lost you as a customer." Well, I bet you they're all trained to say that. So I tell him, yeah, you did. So I tell him what happened. Old story, doesn't matter. I listen to his pitch, and as he goes on about trying to sell me the internet service provider service, I tell him that he goes, what do you use for your internet service provider? I'm like, Optimum. And he was like, well, we knew that you went to the other company and you don't have to cancel a cable. And, maybe they get a perk to get back old customers that left them. I mean, he really worked it. This kid was a fast talker. So I just listened. And I'm like, no, that's not necessary. He goes, well, may I ask how much do you pay? So right now I'm paying $29.95. No tax. So we already discussed what went wrong with Verizon, why they ticked me off so much, why I left. And he was like, well, we can't beat that offer, but about quality of fiber optics, and he does the whole pitch. And I'm like, well, I'm generally happy with Optimum. I feel they're both great services. He was like, well, don't you unplug it and lag, and there's a lag time, you have to reset it. I said occasionally, and he goes, isn't that annoying? And no, not really. Not when you're paying $30 a month for a pretty damn good internet service provider, and I get free Wi-Fi. Now that's something he was like, I know. He tells me this. This is what, we go through the whole deal. This guy tells me that, I forget the name of the company, but it's called, I believe he said it started with a B, but what the point of his story was, all the internet service providers, Time Warner, Cable, Verizon, and whoever else he mentioned, are all collaborating together to create this awesome free hotspot Wi-Fi. Then he tells me I shouldn't be telling you this. He goes, this is inside information. This is what's to come with the TV, the Verizon, because he tried to sell me on the triple play. And I said, well, I don't have a triple play. And he was like, well, what do you mean? What do you use for your telephone? I have a cell phone. I use Magic Jack on the internet service provider with my computer. And he goes, what's that, $24 a year? He's writing it down. I'm like, yes, that's what I pay. He goes, so you get it for free. No, I don't really get it for free. I do pay $24 a year. And he just looks up at me. He was a young kid, kneeling down, writing all the notes. And he goes, well, what do you have for TV, Roku? Like he just assumed. I was like, yes, I do have Roku. So he goes, oh, so you pay $80. I mean, this poor kid. I just ripped him apart. I couldn't believe that he could hear the Oscars all in my apartment, and he's trying to sell me on all this stuff. And I kept knocking him down. I'm like, well, I use Aereo with the Roku. And he's like, Aereo? And I go, Aereo. And I go, it's, remote. There's no devices. There's nothing for $8.71 a month. And he looks at me and he goes, well, we can't beat that either. He goes, so how many channels do you get? And I was like, oh, about 25 or 26 channels, something like that. He writes down, you get local television. Well, yeah, that's all I do. I'm not someone who watches 20, 30 hours a week of television. I just don't. So he's like, okay. Then we go back to the triple play. And he's trying to sell me on the triple play. And I'm like, well, why would I do that? I have a great setup. I don't understand what you're trying to do. And then he tells me, this is what I shouldn't be telling you. I'm giving you inside information. He tells me that in the very near future, so if you're going to buy a smart television set, you might not want to. He tells me that Verizon, when you get the box, the digital box to hook up to your high definition television set, that the box is going to include apps like a smart television set. He goes, but I'm not supposed to tell you this. Are you kidding me? I mean, everything he said, oh God, I was so, at that point, I was like, well, you deserve 10 minutes of your time wasted since you knocked on my door, roaming the building on a Sunday night at 8:30 at night at one of the most exciting television shows there is all year round, and you try to sell me, you're trying to get me back as a customer. There must be a huge bonus included when you get a customer back that makes it very clear they don't want you. So, I mean, I still feel all the service providers out there, I understand it's all competition, I understand it's all business, but they all work pretty good. I mean, then he did the last thing that irked me, and then he thought he sold me, was he pushed the quantum. And I was like, well, they already quoted me for that. I checked. It was $74 and change a month. And he was like, well, the quantum with the, he was telling me, no, that's not it. He told me it's $60 to $70. And I was like, well, I was quoted 74 and change. He was like, well, not all services are the same. We do have services between $60 and $70. So what you're telling me is you want to give me a worse service, but you don't want to give me the quantum for $60. Oh my God, it got so confusing. But when he left, I mean, right before he left, this guy was like, okay, let's sign you up. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not switching. I pay maybe $15 a month if you count my internet service provider and my television. TV, okay, we'll say $20 a month for phone, internet service, and I get great Wi-Fi and hotspots, and I get awesome television. But let me give you $90 a month for a triple play that I already made it very clear that I don't want. So I hope I wrap that up really quick. I try to tell the whole story. This video clip is going on just over 7 minutes. Well, that guy wasted almost 10 minutes of my time, and I think I did a pretty good job sharing it. So Verizon, if you're listening, you should tell your representatives not to knock on people's door Sunday night, browsing the hallways of my building. Oh, a Sunday night at 8:30 at night. Get bay. Okay. See you in the next video clip. Have a great day.